a Crazy Horse special Morgan three-wheeler. So this is a 2012 Morgan three-wheeler, one of the first cars, and for a number of reasons people out there may have heard stories about the early three-wheelers, and in a lot of cases they were right. They were on a steep learning curve with the very first cars. You can imagine a very small company like Morgan had some learning curves. I think is probably the best way to describe it. But now a lot of these early three-wheelers have been sorted, so they've had all the modifications like the new cars. Crazy Horse being one of the bigger, if not the biggest, three-wheeler dealer. We've known this car since pretty much its first owner, and looked after it and maintained it. So it's had a lot of the modifications that they all, to be honest, require. So just behind the engine here, you can see the A-frame that's been fitted, and the early cars were called back to have that additional strengthening put on under Morgan warranty. It's also had the comfort steering pack, which is that elongated rose joint that you see just there. Other things that you won't necessarily be able to see would be bevel box isolation kit, the centre drive. This car very early on in its life was converted from the centre drive to the compensator to the centre drive very early on in its life, which is a rubber cush drive, so to take up some of the vibrations from the engine and just make it a more enjoyable experience. So it's had that. It's also had the steel rear sprocket fitted at the back there. The aluminium one, although lighter and could, a lighter mass, was made of a softer material, aluminium. It was found after about 5, 6, 7, 8,000 miles, depending how it's driven, they would start to wear. So the steel sprockets replaced that. Since the steel ones have been replaced, we've never had to replace another one. They've worked their way through the process and found all the answers to the little foils and fables that they initially had. So this car, I have to say, drives absolutely lovely. 2 owners from new. We know both the owners, fully serviced by ourselves, and with the colourway that you can see, the sport grey, it's fantastic, looks very vintage. Heritage screen, quilted mulberry leather, heated seats. This one's also got the immobiliser and the famous bomb switch to start the car, so there's a little bit of theatre every time you get in and have a drive. I think I mentioned, but this one's had the heated seats as well. Things that are not standard, this would have had what they call the bright pack when it was new, so polished rollover hoops, polished engine, polished mirrors, stainless polished side exhaust covers, Union Jack badges, body coloured mud guards, which look normally they're nearly always black, but I think in this instance it just looks fantastic on this car, really period, like vintage looking. The solid brass wheel nuts with that sort of patina, they will polish up lovely in gold if you want them to, but I think against this car that just looks brilliant on there. Stainless polished nose cone, again, was discontinued on the later cars, went to silver painted, but this is the stainless polished. We have the rights to produce the JAP engine covers. Back in the launch of the three-wheelers back in the 20s and 30s, you had a choice of various different engines, Anzani, Matchless, and if you had the money, you went for the JAP engine, because that was the one that held all of the world records at Brooklands and all sorts of different titles throughout the world for the JAP engine. So that was the one to have, and hence why we've embraced that name and brought that back on these engines. Fabulous V, as you can see that coming down the road towards you with the JAP emblems. We've also fitted the wrapped headers, mainly for to keep the look looking linear for longer. If they're not wrapped, they can discolour and get a bit of patina on there, whereas that adds a little bit of theatre, and just looks really cool. Also fitted is our KH blackout headlights, again to emulate the blackout lights from the war. So all in all, a really, really great little three-wheeler. Looked after by Crazy Horse, so we're infinitely confident that it will provide miles and miles of happy miles and smiles. Available in our showroom to view. Strongly recommend a test drive, because I'll quite honestly say they're not for everybody. But just so much fun. Hopefully this video has raised your interest. My name's Dan Whiting. More photos and information can be found at crazyhorse.co.uk. Any questions, please get in touch. Thanks for watching.